My name is Margaret. I'm 68 years old. My granddaughter threw my 50th anniversary cake in the trash and said, "Nobody cares about old people." I didn't react. I just stood there, watching frosting drip down the garbage bag, watching pieces of my heart break off and fall into that trash can with it. That night, my daughter texted, "Mom, don't come to our house anymore." I replied, "Removing your names from my will tomorrow." By midnight, 67 missed calls. The family group chat exploded like I'd thrown a grenade into their perfect little bubble. Before we get into this, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now, let me tell you how I got here. Let me tell you about the 68 years I spent being small so everyone else could feel big. I'm a retired school teacher, taught second grade for 34 years. I know what you're thinking. Oh, how sweet. A gentle old teacher lady. That's what they thought too. That's what they counted on. I married Harold when I was 18. We had 50 years together. 50. We built a house with our own hands in the suburbs, him on the ladder, me mixing paint. We planted roses. We raised 2 kids. We grew old together until 3 years ago, when his heart just stopped while he was reading the newspaper in his favorite chair. I became a widow at 65. And you know what I learned? When you lose your husband, you lose your identity in your family. You become mom or grandma, but never Margaret. Never a whole person. You become a resource, a tool, an ATM machine with arms that can babysit. My daughter Sarah is 42. Corporate manager, always busy, always stressed, always treating me like I'm an item on her to-do list. Check in on mom, check mark, move on. Her husband Derek is the kind of man who calls me Grandma Margaret, like it's a job title, not a relationship, like I'm the help. He's always on his phone, always dismissive, always making these little jokes that sting but you're supposed to laugh because it's just Derek being Derek. And then there's Lily, my granddaughter, 16 years old. I used to think she was the sweetest thing. I held her when she was born. I was the one who walked her to her first day of kindergarten because Sarah had a meeting. I was the one who taught her to bake cookies. But somewhere along the way, she learned that old people are disposable, boring, dramatic. She learned it from watching how her parents treat me. My son Michael lives across the country. He calls on holidays, he sends cards. He's busy with his own life, and I don't blame him for that. He's the one who got away, and honestly, good for him. He doesn't owe me anything because I never made him feel like he did. But Sarah. Oh, Sarah learned early that mom would always say yes. Mom would always help. Mom would always be there, with her purse open and her schedule clear, and her feelings carefully tucked away where nobody had to deal with them. Let me tell you about the money. Let me show you the receipts I kept in a little notebook, the same way Harold used to track our budget. 3 years ago, Lily needed braces. $8,500. Sarah called me crying. "Mom, we just don't have it right now. Derek's business is slow. Could you help us? Just temporarily?" I wrote the check. That was April 2022. It's October 2025. I'm still waiting for temporarily to end. Then there was Sarah's car. Her transmission died. She needed a down payment on a new one. $12,000. "Mom, I'll pay you back when my bonus comes through." That was December 2019. The bonus came. The money didn't. Derek had a business idea. Some kind of consulting thing. He needed startup capital. Sarah asked me to lunch, which should have been my first clue because she never takes me to lunch. $15,000. "Mom, this is going to change everything for us. Derek is so smart. This is going to be huge." The business lasted 8 months. Nobody ever mentioned the money again. Lily's laptop for school. $1,800. I bought it because every kid needs technology. Mom, do you want her to fall behind? A family vacation to Disney World. They came up short on the deposit. $3,200. "Mom, this is for Lily. Don't you want her to have memories? I added it up one night after Harold died. I was sitting in his study, going through papers, trying to figure out my finances, trying to figure out how to live on a teacher's pension and Social Security. $67,000. I have given my daughter and her family $67,000 over the past 10 years, not counting the free babysitting, not counting the dinners I cooked, not counting the times I dropped everything because they needed something. And you know what hurts more than the money? The small humiliations, the death by 1,000 paper cuts. Christmas 3 years ago. I spent 2 days making pies from scratch. Harold's recipe, the one his mother taught him. Apple, pumpkin, and pecan. I brought them over in boxes, proud, excited to contribute something to the meal. Lily took one look and said, "Ugh, they look like a Pinterest fail." Sarah laughed, actually laughed. "Mom's not really a baker," she said, like I wasn't standing right there, like I hadn't been baking for 50 years. My 67th birthday, my first birthday without Harold. I didn't expect a party. I didn't expect gifts, but a phone call would have been nice. A text, anything. Nothing came. Not a word. A week later, I mentioned it. "Oh," Sarah said, distracted, loading her dishwasher while I sat at her kitchen table. "Oh, Mom, you know how busy we are. You should have reminded us." I should have reminded them. Of my birthday. The day I was born. The day I became their mother. There was a family photo session last summer. Professional photographer, matching outfits, the whole production. I wasn't invited, but I saw it later on Sarah's Instagram. "My little family," the caption said. Derek, Sarah, and Lily, looking perfect in their coordinated khakis and white shirts. I scrolled through her page. There were dozens of photos. I appeared in exactly 3, always in the background, always partially cropped out, always untagged. The babysitting. For 6 months last year, Sarah asked me to watch Lily every weekend. Every single weekend. "Mom, she's too old for a sitter, but too young to be alone, and you know how it is." I did it. I canceled plans. I rearranged my life. I watched a teenager scroll through her phone and treat me like I was the furniture. Then I had surgery. Minor, but I needed recovery time. I told Sarah I couldn't babysit for a few weeks. You know what she said? "Wow, Mom. When we actually need you. When they need me." As if I'd been lounging around, hoarding my time, refusing to help. And the nursing home joke. That one still sits in my chest like a stone. We were at dinner, maybe 8 months ago. Derek made some crack about how we better be nice to Mom or she'll put us in the bad nursing home. Everyone laughed. Sarah laughed. Lily laughed. I smiled because that's what you do. You smile and you take it, and you pretend your feelings don't exist because if you speak up, you're too sensitive or can't take a joke. Which brings me to the anniversary. My 50th wedding anniversary. Well, it would have been if Harold were still here. I still celebrate it. Is that weird? Maybe it is. But Harold and I got married on October 8th, 1975. For 50 years, we celebrated that day. We'd go to dinner, nothing fancy, usually the diner where we had our first date. We'd order pie and coffee and hold hands across the table like teenagers. After he died, I kept celebrating. I'd make his favorite meal. I'd light a candle. I'd talk to him like he was still in his chair listening. This year was 50 years, half a century. I mentioned it to Sarah a month before. We were on the phone. I said, "October 8th is coming up. It's a big one for me." She made sympathetic sounds. "We should do something, Mom. We should definitely do something." She never brought it up again. The morning of October 8th, I woke up alone. I made coffee in Harold's mug. I sat in his chair. I looked at the photos on the wall, all those years of smiling faces and moments frozen in time. I thought about baking a cake. Harold loved lemon cake with cream cheese frosting. I used to make it for his birthday every year. I hadn't made it since he died because it hurt too much. But that morning, I decided I wanted to. I wanted to do something that connected me to him, to us, to the 50 years we built together. I spent the whole day baking. I'm not young anymore. My hands shake a little. My back hurts if I stand too long. But I made that cake. I made it perfect. 3 layers, cream cheese frosting, little swirls on top just like he loved. I wrote 50 years in blue icing, careful with every letter. I stood back and looked at it and felt proud. I felt connected to Harold. I felt like maybe I was going to be okay. I wasn't invited to Sarah's for dinner. She hadn't mentioned the anniversary again. But I thought, you know what, I'll just go. I'll bring the cake. We'll celebrate as a family. I'll tell Lily stories about her grandfather. It'll be nice. It'll be healing. I put the cake in a box, careful not to smudge the frosting. I drove to Sarah's house. My hands were shaking on the wheel, but it was excitement, not fear. Not yet. I knocked. Derek opened the door with his phone pressed to his ear. He gestured me in without looking up. The house smelled like takeout. There was no special dinner. Just a regular Sunday evening with Chinese food containers on the counter and the TV playing in the background. Sarah was loading the dishwasher. Lily was on the couch, thumbs flying across her phone screen. I set the cake on the counter carefully. "Hi, everyone," I said. My voice sounded too loud in the quiet house. "I brought something." Sarah glanced over. "Oh, hi, Mom. What's that?" "It's a cake," I said. "For the anniversary. Harold and me. 50 years today." Lily looked up from her phone. Her face had that expression teenagers get, that mix of boredom and disdain. She said. "Why are you always so dramatic about dead people stuff?" I felt my smile freeze. "It's not dramatic, sweetheart. It's remembering someone I loved." She rolled her eyes. These huge, theatrical eye rolls that kids do now. Nobody cares about old people. You're like, obsessed with the past. The room went very still. I waited for Sarah to say something, to correct her daughter, to defend me. Sarah sighed. "Lily, don't be rude. That's it. Don't be rude. Not apologize to your grandmother. Not, that's a terrible thing to say. Just don't be rude," said in the same tone you'd use to say, "Don't leave your shoes in the hallway." Lily stood up. She walked over to the counter. She looked at the cake, and I saw something flash across her face. Not guilt, not remorse. Something uglier, like she was testing something, seeing how far she could go. She picked up the cake box, the whole box, with both hands. She walked to the trash can. One of those big kitchen trash cans with the foot pedal. She stepped on the pedal. The lid lifted. "Lily?" My voice sounded strange, small. She looked right at me. And she dropped it. Dropped the whole cake into the trash. I heard the thud. I heard the scrape of frosting against the plastic bag. I saw white and blue smearing together as it hit the garbage. Derek snorted. He actually snorted. "Savage," he said, not looking up from his phone. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the trash can, at the cake I'd spent all day making, at the 50 years reduced to garbage, at every letter I'd carefully written, now covered in coffee grounds and takeout containers. Sarah turned around, holding a plate. "Lily, that's rude. Rude. That word again. Like rude covers throwing your grandmother's anniversary cake in the trash." "Mom, don't take it personally. She's just being a teenager. Don't take it personally. My husband's anniversary, my whole day of work, my heart in a cake box. Don't take it personally." Something inside me went very quiet, very cold. It was like a door closing. You know that sound? That soft click when a door closes and the latch catches? I heard that sound in my head. I picked up my purse. Sarah looked surprised. "Mom, don't be like this. Stay for dinner. We have plenty of Chinese food." Chinese food. For my 50th anniversary. Instead of the cake I baked with shaking hands and a breaking heart. "I need to go," I said. My voice sounded calm. That surprised me. I felt like I was screaming inside, but my voice came out steady and quiet. Mom, come on, Sarah said. Don't make this into a thing. A thing. I'm making this into a thing. Not Lily throwing a cake away, not the disrespect, not the cruelty. I'm the one making it into a thing. I walked to the door. I drove home. The whole drive, I was very calm. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, radio off. Just silence and the sound of my heart beating in my ears. I got home. I walked into Harold's study. I sat in his chair. I looked at our wedding photo on the wall. I was 18 inches that photo, wearing my mother's dress. Harold was 20, skinny and nervous and so in love. We were babies. We didn't know anything. We just knew we wanted to be together forever. And we were. We had forever. 50 years. And my granddaughter threw it in the trash. I sat there for hours. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was in that place where you're so hurt that tears don't make sense anymore. I just sat there, feeling everything I'd been pushing down for years rising up like floodwater. At 8:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Mom, don't come to our house anymore. You make everything uncomfortable. Lily feels bad now and it's your fault for making it weird. I read it 3 times. Don't come to our house anymore. I make things uncomfortable. Lily feels bad, and it's my fault. Derek had liked the message. There was a little heart next to it. Derek, who couldn't be bothered to look up from his phone while his daughter humiliated me, liked a message telling me to stay away. I should tell you something. Harold and I, we worked hard our whole lives. We saved, we were careful with money, we lived in the same house for 45 years. We drove our cars until they died. We didn't take fancy vacations or buy expensive things. We saved because we wanted to leave something behind for our kids. We wanted to make their lives easier. Our will left everything split between Sarah and Michael. The house, our savings, my teacher's pension, Harold's life insurance. It wasn't millions, but it was substantial, enough to make a real difference. Sarah knew this. She'd asked about it multiple times over the years. So Mom, everything is set up, right? The will is current? Always casual. Always making sure her inheritance was secure. I thought about that. I thought about 68 years of putting everyone else first. I thought about being called dramatic for grieving my husband. I thought about $67,000 I'd never see again. I thought about being told not to come to my own daughter's house. I thought about my anniversary cake in the garbage. I opened my phone. I opened my notes app where I keep important things. I'd been tracking everything for months. Every loan, every slight, every moment of disrespect. I didn't know why I was tracking it. Maybe part of me knew this moment was coming. I opened a new text to Sarah. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady. I typed, "Removing your names from my will tomorrow. A state lawyer appointment at 9 a.m. I read it once. I didn't hesitate. I hit send. Then I turned off my phone. I went to the kitchen. I made tea in Harold's favorite mug. I sat at the table. I looked out the window at the roses we'd planted together, barely visible in the dark, and I slept. God help me, I slept better that night than I had in 3 years. I slept like someone had lifted a weight off my chest. The next morning, I turned on my phone at 8:30. I needed to be awake for the lawyer appointment, though I hadn't actually made one yet. But I would. My phone exploded. 7 missed calls, 89 text messages, 14 voicemails. The family group chat, the one I'd been added to years ago and mostly just observed, was complete chaos. I scrolled through the messages. They started at 9:15 p.m., right after I'd turned off my phone. What does that mean? Sarah. Mom. Sarah. Answer your phone. Derek. You can't do that. Derek. That's not how wills work. Derek. You're being ridiculous. Sarah. This is so typical. Always have to make everything about you. Sarah. Lily is crying. Are you happy? She's a child. Derek. This is emotional manipulation. Derek. We'll contest it. You're going to regret this. Fine. Be that way. We don't need your money anyway. Then there was a gap of about an hour. I imagine that's when they realized I wasn't responding. When they started to panic. Mom, please. Can we just talk about this? Sarah. I'm sorry if Lily hurt your feelings, but she's 16. She didn't mean it. Sarah. You're going to ruin our family over a cake? Derek. Think about what you're doing. Derek. Think about Lily's future. Derek. We've supported you since Harold died. That one made me laugh. Actually, laugh out loud. Alone in my kitchen. They've supported me. They've supported me. By taking my money and my time and my dignity? Michael had texted separately. Mom, what's going on? Sarah is calling me freaking out. Are you okay? I texted Michael back. I'm fine, honey. I'll call you later. I didn't respond to anyone else. I got dressed. I called my estate attorney, Patricia. I've known her for 20 years. She handled our will when Harold and I first wrote it. She updated it when he died. Patricia, I said when she answered. I need to make some changes. Can you see me today? Of course, Margaret, she said. Is everything all right? Everything is going to be, I said. I drove to her office. The whole way, my phone kept buzzing. I didn't look at it. I walked into Patricia's office at 9:15 a.m. with my purse and my notebook. She sat me down. She poured me coffee. She folded her hands and said, Tell me what you need. I need to remove my daughter and her family from my will, I said. My voice didn't shake. I need to do it today, and I need it to be ironclad. Patricia nodded slowly. Before we begin, I need to ask, are you being coerced? Is anyone pressuring you? I almost laughed again. The opposite, I said. I'm finally stopping the pressure. I showed her my notebook. The dates, the amounts, the patterns. She read through it quietly. When she looked up, her eyes were sad but understanding. Let's talk about your wishes, she said. We worked for 2 hours. Sarah and Derek, removed as primary beneficiaries. Completely. Not reduced, removed. Lily. I couldn't cut her out entirely. She's still my granddaughter. But I set up a trust that she couldn't access until she was 30, and only if she met certain requirements. Education, character references, proof that she'd learned empathy. Michael. His share increased. Not because he'd been perfect, but because he'd been absent, not cruel. He'd lived his life without treating me like an ATM. The rest, my house, my savings, Harold's life insurance split between charities, Alzheimer's research, because that's what we'd always feared. What finally took Harold's mother. The local library, where I'd volunteered for years. The animal shelter where we'd gotten our dog. The house? Patricia asked gently. You're sure? Sell it, I said. Put the proceeds in the charity fund. I don't want Sarah standing in Harold's kitchen counting the value of the cabinets. Patricia made notes. She printed documents. I signed and initialed and dated. Every signature felt like taking a breath after being underwater too long. Margaret, Patricia said when we finished, I want you to know you're within your rights to do this, but I also want you to prepare for what comes next. They're going to push back hard. Let them, I said. I left Patricia's office at 11:30. I drove home. I knew what was coming. Sure enough, at 2 p.m., I was in the garden working on Harold's roses when Sarah's car pulled up. All 3 of them got out. Sarah, Derek, and Lily. Lily's face was blotchy from crying. Sarah looked furious. Derek looked smug, like he was about to win an argument. I didn't stand up. I kept pruning the roses, my hands busy with the shears. Mom, Sarah said. Her voice had that fake calm that meant she was barely holding it together. Can we talk inside? We can talk here, I said. Snip. A dead bloom fell into my basket. Sarah's mask slipped. You're being ridiculous. All of this over a cake? I set down the shears. I pulled off my gardening gloves. I looked at my daughter. This isn't about a cake. Then what? She demanded. What is it about? Spell it out for me because apparently I'm too stupid to understand. It's about respect, I said. It's about being treated like a human being instead of a resource. Derek stepped forward. You can't cut us out because Lily was being a kid. I'm not cutting you out because Lily was being a kid, I said. I'm cutting you out because you've been treating me like an ATM for 10 years and you taught your child that I'm disposable. Sarah's face flushed red. We never treated you like that. I stood up. My knees protested, but I stood. I looked at her. Braces. $8,500. You said 2 months. It's been 3 years. Car down payment. $12,000. You said you'd pay me back when your bonus came. That was 2019. Derek's business loan. $15,000. You told me it was a sure thing. Derek's smugness faded. That's low. Bringing up money you gave us. I didn't give it, I said. My voice was rising now. I could feel the anger I'd been holding back for years finally breaking through. You took it. You asked for temporary help and made it permanent. You made promises you never intended to keep. And every time I needed something, anything, I was asking too much. That's not fair, Sarah said. Her voice broke. We've been there for you. When? The word came out as a shout. I never shout. I watched Sarah flinch. When have you been there for me? You forgot my birthday. You cropped me out of your family photos. You told me I was making things uncomfortable when your husband joked about putting me in a bad nursing home. It was a joke, Derek said. Jokes are supposed to be funny, I said coldly, not cruel. Lily stepped forward. Her eyes were red. Grandma, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just being stupid. I looked at my granddaughter. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to tell her it was okay. But it wasn't okay. Lily, I said quietly. I believe you're sorry you got caught. I don't believe you're sorry you said it. Do you know why? She shook her head. Because you learned that behavior somewhere, I said. You learned it from watching your parents dismiss me. Watching them laugh at me. Watching them treat me like I'm an obligation instead of a person. Don't you dare blame me for her attitude, Sarah shouted. You laughed when she called my pies a Pinterest fail, I said. Each word felt like pulling splinters from my skin. You forgot my birthday and told me I should have reminded you. You cropped me out of photos. You told me not to come to your house anymore. You taught her I don't matter. The silence was thick and awful. Sarah tried one more time. Her voice dropped. She tried to sound reasonable. Mom, please, let's just fix this. Come inside. We'll talk. We'll figure it out. Just undo what you did at the lawyer. No, I said. If you do this, Sarah said slowly. If you really do this, you'll never see Lily again. Is that what you want? The threat hung in the air like smoke. I looked at her, at my daughter, at the little girl I raised, who used to hold my hand in parking lots, who used to tell me I was her best friend. You told me not to come to your house anymore, I said quietly. You told me to stay away. I'm respecting that boundary. You don't get to use my granddaughter as a bargaining chip now. We can fix this. Sarah was crying now. Real tears, not fake ones. Just tell us what you want. We'll do it. I want you to leave, I said. Derek stepped closer. His face was ugly now. You're going to regret this when you're old and alone. Something snapped in me. Something that had been bending and bending for years finally broke. I'm already old, Derek. My voice shook with rage. And I've been alone since Harold died. You made sure of that. Every holiday where you were on your phone. Every birthday you forgot. Every time I needed help and got told I was asking too much. I've been alone in a room full of family for 3 years. He stepped back, startled. The difference now, I continued, my voice dropping to something cold and steady, is that I have peace. I don't have to wonder if you'll remember my birthday. I don't have to wait for phone calls that never come. I don't have to watch you take and take and take and then tell me I'm being dramatic when I finally have nothing left to give. We gave you a place in our family, Sarah cried. I didn't want a place, I said. I wanted to be family. There's a difference. I picked up my gardening gloves. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear, from the release of finally saying everything I'd been holding in. I'm done, I said. I'm finally doing what I should have done years ago. I'm putting myself first. You're going to regret this, Sarah said again. It sounded like a curse. Maybe, I said, but I already regret wasting 68 years being small so everyone else could feel big. They stood there for another moment. Sarah kept crying. Derek kept glaring. Lily looked lost and confused and hurt. Go, I said quietly. Please just go. They left. Sarah stormed to the car. Derek muttered something under his breath that I'm sure was meant to wound me. Lily looked back at me once, and for a second I saw something in her face that looked like understanding. Or maybe regret. Or maybe I was just hoping. I watched them drive away. Then I went back to the roses. My hands were steady again. The afternoon sun was warm on my shoulders. I pruned and clipped and cleared away the dead growth. It felt good. It felt like making space for new things to bloom. The first week after that confrontation was the quietest week I'd had in years. I changed all my passwords. I pulled my credit report, Patricia had suggested it, and circled all the places where my name was attached to their debt like barnacles on a ship. I started making phone calls, store cards, credit lines, car loans. I want to remove my name, I said over and over to bored customer service representatives who had no idea they were witnessing my liberation. Some places said yes immediately. Some places said I needed the primary account holder's permission. I made notes of those. I made plans. I kept living. That's what surprised me most. I kept waking up. I kept making breakfast. I kept going to the library to volunteer for story time on Wednesday afternoons. I kept going to the grocery store where Mrs. Chen at the checkout always asked how I was doing and actually waited for an answer. Sarah's texts came in waves, predictable as the tide. Day 1, you're making a mistake. Day 2, we can fix this if you apologize. Day 3, Lily cried for you. Day 4 was a photo. Lily holding a crayon drawing of a flower. The text said, "She drew this for you. She said sorry." I stared at that photo for a long time. I zoomed in on Lily's face. She did look sorry, but I also knew Sarah. I knew manipulation when I saw it. I knew the difference between a child's genuine remorse and a mother's coached performance. Day 5, call me now. Day 6, your father isn't sleeping. I stared at that one in confusion, until I realized she meant Harold. In her panic, she was mixing up dead relatives. She meant Harold wasn't sleeping, except Harold was dead. Dead and buried and not losing sleep over any of this. Day 7, silence. Blessed, empty silence. Derek's messages came too, scattered and increasingly desperate. Bank says you can't do this, LOL. Be real, Mom, come on. Lily asked why you hate her. You owe us. You'll fold. You always do. Oh, that last one stung because he was right. I always had folded. Every single time. But not this time. He sent a voice memo at 2:11 a.m. I was in bed, reading one of Harold's old mystery novels, trying to fall asleep. I saw the notification, 2 minutes and 37 seconds of Derek's voice. I didn't play it. I could imagine his tone anyway. Condescending at first, then wounded and manipulative, then aggressive and threatening. I deleted it without listening. Michael called on day 3. Actually called, not texted. Mom, he said when I answered. What happened? Sarah's been calling me non-stop saying you've lost your mind. I haven't lost my mind, I said calmly. I've found my spine. I told him everything. The money, the cake, the years of small cruelties that added up like interest on a loan I never agreed to take. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Mom, he finally said, and his voice was thick. I'm proud of you. You should have done this years ago. I started crying. I hadn't cried through any of this, not at the lawyer's office, not during the confrontation, not while reading Sarah's increasingly frantic texts. But hearing my son say he was proud of me broke something open in my chest. I'm coming to visit next month, he said. I'm bringing Amanda and the kids. They miss their grandma. I'd love that, I whispered. Week 2 brought an email from Sarah. An actual formal email, like I was a business contact she needed to professionally terminate. Dear Mom, we respect your decision and your boundaries. However, we feel it's best if you don't contact Lily at this time. She's very confused and hurt by your actions, and we need to focus on her emotional well-being without outside interference. I read it 3 times. They were keeping Lily from me, using her as a weapon while pretending it was for her protection, framing me as the threat to her emotional well-being. Not them. Not the environment they'd created where cruelty was laughed off and disrespect was just being a teenager. I wrote back, short and clear. I will always love Lily. When she's ready to have a relationship that isn't based on what I can provide financially or emotionally enable, my door is open. I hit send and felt nothing but calm. I started volunteering more at the library. There was a reading program for kids every Wednesday afternoon. I'd helped with it before Harold died, but after he passed, I'd pulled back from everything. Now I threw myself into it. I sat in a child-sized chair that made my knees ache and read stories to a dozen kids who actually listened. Who said, "Thank you, Miss Margaret," without being prompted. Who gave me drawings and asked if I'd be there next week. Who didn't know anything about my will or my bank account or what I could do for them. They just wanted stories. One little boy, maybe 7, gave me a drawing of a dragon. "This is for you," he said solemnly. "Because you're nice, and you do the voices good." I hung that drawing on my refrigerator when I got home, right where Lily's childhood art used to be, before Sarah cleaned out my fridge one day and threw it all away because, "Mom, you can't keep everything forever." Week 3. An envelope appeared in my mailbox. My name written in teenage handwriting, slightly messy but careful. I opened it standing right there by the mailbox. My heart pounding so hard I thought my neighbors would hear it. Dear Grandma, I'm really sorry for what I said. I know I was mean. Mom is mad at me. She says this is all my fault because of the cake. I don't know what to do. I miss you. Love, Lily. I held that letter and cried right there in my driveway. My neighbors probably thought I'd lost my mind. An old woman crying over an envelope, tears dripping onto the pavement, my hands shaking so hard the paper rattled. I went inside. I sat at the kitchen table where Harold and I had eaten breakfast for 50 years. I wrote back carefully, my handwriting shaky but deliberate. Dear Lily, this isn't your fault. Grown-ups need to solve grown-up problems. You don't need to fix this. What you said hurt me very much. But I know you're still learning. I love you. Focus on school. Be kind to people. Treat everyone like they matter, especially the people who seem invisible. I'm here when you're ready. Love, Grandma. I mailed it that afternoon before I could second-guess myself. Week 4. Sarah showed up alone. No Derek, no Lily, just Sarah, standing on my porch at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday when she should have been at work. She'd been crying. Her makeup was smudged, her hair wasn't styled like usual. She looked exhausted and small and broken. "Mom," she said, "can I come in?" I almost said no. I almost closed the door. Every cell in my body wanted to protect the peace I'd finally found. But she's still my daughter. No matter what happened, she's still my daughter. I let her in. I made tea. We sat at the kitchen table in silence while the kettle boiled and the clock ticked and the whole house held its breath. "I didn't realize," Sarah said finally. Her voice was small, almost childlike. "I didn't realize how much we took from you." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "Derek and I are in counseling," she said. "Separate counseling. He doesn't know I'm here. Things are not good between us." "I'm sorry," I said. And I meant it. I never wanted her marriage to fall apart. I just wanted to stop being crushed under the weight of holding it together. "Don't be," she said bitterly. "You were right. About a lot of things. I've been a terrible daughter." "You've been thoughtless," I said carefully. "There's a difference. Is there?" She looked up at me with red eyes. "Mom, I forgot your birthday. I laughed when Lily insulted you. I told you not to come to my house. That's not thoughtless. That's cruel." I couldn't argue with that. "I don't know when it started," she continued. "When I started seeing you as a resource instead of my mom. Maybe after Dad died. Maybe before. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that you're a person with feelings. I forgot that you're not just Mom. You're Margaret. You had a whole life before me. You had dreams and plans and a marriage that lasted 50 years. She was crying hard now. Real tears, not manipulative ones. I could tell the difference. "I can't undo what I did," I said quietly. "The will is changed, and it's staying changed." "I know," she said. "I'm not here to ask you to change it back. I'm here to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry I got caught or sorry there are consequences. I'm sorry I hurt you." We sat there for a long time. I poured the tea. We drank it in silence. The kitchen was warm and quiet and sad. "Can we try again?" Sarah asked finally. "Not for the money, not for the will. Just, can we try to have a real relationship? The kind where I actually show up for you the way you've always shown up for me?" "What about Derek?" I asked. "Derek can make his own choices," she said. "I'm making mine. What about Lily?" "Lily is old enough to understand actions have consequences. She's also old enough to learn what a real apology looks like. I'm going to teach her that, even if it's late." I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. I saw the little girl who used to hold my hand in parking lots. I also saw the woman who'd told me not to come to her house. Both were true. People are complicated. "We can try," I said slowly. "But there are conditions." "Okay? No more money. Ever. I don't care what the emergency is. My bank account is mine. Okay? No more last-minute babysitting requests. If you need help, you ask in advance like I'm a person with a schedule. Okay? No more jokes at my expense. Not from Derek, not from Lily, not from you. My feelings matter." "They do," she said. "They absolutely do. And therapy," I said. "Family therapy. You, me, and Lily. If we're going to rebuild this, we need help." She nodded. "I'll set it up." We finished our tea. She hugged me before she left, and it felt different than it had in years. It felt like she was actually there, actually present, not just going through the motions. After she left, I sat in Harold's chair. "What do you think?" I asked the empty room. The way I always do. Did I do the right thing? I like to think he would have been proud. Harold always said I was too soft, too willing to bend. "Maggie," he used to say, "you can't pour from an empty cup." I never understood what he meant until the day my granddaughter threw my anniversary cake in the trash, and I finally realized my cup had been empty for years. 3 months have passed now. Michael visited with his family. We spent a whole week together, and I got to actually be a grandma to his kids. Not a bank, not a servant, just grandma. We made cookies. We played board games. We told stories about their grandfather. It was healing in ways I didn't know I needed. Sarah comes by once a week now. Just her, no Derek. We have tea. We talk. Really talk. It's awkward sometimes. There are silences that hurt. But we're trying. Lily texted me last week. Just 3 words. I miss you. I texted back. I miss you too. We're taking it slow. Derek hasn't apologized. I don't expect him to. Some people never learn. But that's not my problem anymore. I still volunteer at the library. I still tend Harold's roses. I still make his favorite lemon cake on our anniversary. But now I eat it myself without shame. I've taken up watercolor painting. I'm terrible at it, but it makes me happy. My bank account is mine. My time is mine. My home is mine. My peace is mine. The will stays changed. Maybe someday, if Sarah proves over years that she's really changed, I'll adjust things. Maybe. But right now, my money is going to go where it'll do real good. To research and books and animals who need help. To things that mattered to Harold and me. I'm 68 years old. I spent most of my life making myself small so other people could feel big. I spent decades being the helper, the fixer, the bank, the backup plan. I thought that's what love meant. I thought sacrifice meant disappearing. But Harold didn't fall in love with someone small. He fell in love with Margaret. A whole person with dreams and opinions and boundaries. Somewhere along the way, I forgot her. I became just mom, just grandma, just the woman who would always say yes. The day Lily threw my cake in the trash, Margaret woke up. Angry Margaret, hurt Margaret. Margaret who'd had enough. This isn't a revenge story. Nobody went to jail, nobody went viral, no dramatic confrontations filmed for social media. This is just the story of a grandmother who finally learned that love without respect isn't love at all. It's just use with a prettier name. My name is Margaret. I'm 68 years old. I'm a widow, a mother, a grandmother, a retired teacher, a volunteer, and a woman who finally learned to take up space. My phone is quieter now. My shoulders are lighter. My anniversary cake was delicious, and I didn't share a single slice. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to set a boundary that changed everything? What happened? I read every single comment. Thanks for watching.